My family forgot to invite me to their graduation dinner, so I sent a photo of my $5,000 dress, then showed up unannounced. "Oh, you actually came?" my cousin sneered. "Until everyone swarmed me instead." "I thought you said it was only immediate family," I said, looking straight at my mother across the table. She gave me that tight, uncomfortable smile she always used when she was caught in a lie. "Celia, don't make a scene. Let's just enjoy the night." From the corner of my eye, I saw Bridget glaring at me, clutching her champagne glass like it was a lifeline. The night was supposed to be about her. But now, everyone was gathered around me, asking about my boutique, my dress, my life. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even cry. I just smiled and said, "Oh, don't worry, Mom. I'm just here to celebrate Bridget." I never thought I'd be the kind of person to crash a family event. But to be fair, it wasn't like I wasn't family. I'm Celia, 32 years old, living in San Antonio. I run a boutique in the artsy district near Pearl Brewery. I love what I do. It's not a traditional path, but it's mine. And while my career took a different turn from the doctors, lawyers, and accountants in my family, I thought there was still a baseline of respect. Or at least civility. Apparently, I was wrong. It started with a Facebook post, my cousin Bridget, who had just graduated from Baylor, announcing her family-only graduation dinner at La Fonda on Main. I wasn't upset about the post itself. I figured, okay, she's just proud, sharing her big moment. Surely, an invite would come separately. It didn't. I kept waiting. Refreshing messages. Double-checking the family group chat. Everyone else was discussing carpools and dress codes. Me? Crickets. Still trying to be generous, I reached out to my mom. "Hey, what time's Bridget's dinner on Saturday?" I texted casually. Hours later, she replied, "Oh sweetie, it's just more for immediate family this time. But we'll all get together soon. Love you." Immediate family. Like I wasn't blood. Like we hadn't grown up side by side, fought over toys, shared Thanksgivings, had sleepovers at Nana's house. I remembered just sitting there in my little living room, the late afternoon sun slanting through the blinds, staring at the phone like it had personally insulted me. It wasn't even just about the dinner. It was the message underneath it. "You're not one of us anymore." The betrayal wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, like a door clicking softly shut behind you. I let myself feel it for about 24 hours. Then the anger kicked in. Sitting in my closet, half mad, half petty, I saw it, the Mara Hensley gown. It had been a ridiculous purchase months ago, a reward after landing a major client at my boutique. Midnight blue, hand-beaded, floor-length, it made me look like I should be striding down a red carpet instead of dodging my family's disapproval. Screw it, I thought. I slipped it on, pinned my hair into soft curls, did my makeup the way I would for a gala opening. Then I took a mirror selfie and sent it directly into the family group chat with a single line, "Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Congratulations again, Bridget." I didn't say why I was dressed to slaughter. I didn't say where I was going. I just let the picture, and the silence that followed, do the talking. At first, nothing. Then one by one, the notifications started blowing up. "Amazing." Aunt Lorraine gushed. "You look stunning," Uncle Simon commented. "Where are you headed all dressed up?" Cousin Harper asked. I left them on read. Let them wonder. Half an hour later, Bridget herself messaged me, cool as a cucumber, "Hey, if you want, you could maybe swing by after dinner?" After dinner. Like I was a pity guest. A tag-along. No thanks. Instead, I ordered an Uber, tipped the driver well for handling my dress like precious cargo, and rolled up to La Fonda on Main 15 minutes after their reservation time. The second I stepped out onto the stone courtyard under the fairy lights, the world slowed down. You ever walk into a place and know, you're the main character? That was me. Tables full of diners turned to stare. Conversations paused. Even the hostess blinked and stumbled over her words when she asked if I needed a table. I simply smiled, gestured toward the big Morales family table tucked under the oak tree, and walked myself in. I felt every eye on me. Felt my dress whisper against the stones. Felt, for the first time in years, like I was exactly where I belonged. When I reached the table, Bridget saw me first. Her mouth twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. She elbowed Tyson, her boyfriend, and said, under her breath but loud enough for me and everyone to hear, "Oh, you actually came?" The words floated in the air, bitter and mean. I opened my mouth, ready with some practiced, cutting reply, but I didn't need it. Before I could say a word, Aunt Lorraine was jumping up from her chair, clapping her hands. "Celia! Oh my God, you look breathtaking!" Suddenly, it was a domino effect. Uncle Simon stood to pull out a chair for me. Harper scrambled over, practically squealing about the dress. Even my father, who normally said about 4 words at any family gathering, beamed and said, "Now that's style." Everyone was suddenly delighted to see me. Everyone except Bridget. I watched her face crumple, just a little, as the center of attention shifted without warning. Her big night, her carefully curated moment, stolen. I almost felt bad. Almost. I sat down carefully, smoothing the gown under me. The chair Uncle Simon had pulled out was smack dab in the middle of the table, not some awkward corner, not an afterthought. Right where everyone could see me. I caught my mother's eyes across the table. She looked strained. Like she wanted to say something, to smooth things over, but didn't know how without making it worse. Instead, she settled for a brittle smile and poured me a glass of white wine from the table carafe. "So glad you could make it," she said, voice too bright. I matched her smile, sip for sip. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Bridget was still frozen, still clutching her champagne flute. I almost felt the sympathy start to bubble up, then remembered how easily she, and the rest of them, had decided I didn't count. She'd made her choice. So had I. The conversations flowed around me, cousins catching up on jobs, new apartments, weddings, but I noticed how the topics kept sliding toward me. Cousin Harper brought up my boutique within minutes, asking how business was going. I told her about the new expansion I was working on, careful to stay modest. I didn't gloat. I didn't brag. I just answered the questions they were suddenly desperate to ask. Aunt Lorraine leaned in, eyes wide. "And you're showing at the Austin Modern next month? That's huge." I nodded. "It's a small collection, but yeah. They reached out to me a few months ago." Harper gasped like I'd announced I was running for president. Meanwhile, Bridget's face darkened by shades. Across the table, Tyson, trying and failing to play peacemaker, nudged Bridget and said, "Hey, maybe Celia could design your engagement party dress, when the time comes." Bridget laughed, sharp and humorless. "Maybe if I want to get overdressed." The table went silent for a beat too long. I set my wine glass down, letting the stem click gently against the table. Then I smiled, sweet and sharp. Better overdressed than overlooked. A few of the older aunts chuckled, trying to hide it behind their napkins. Tyson had the good sense to look horrified. Bridget shoved her chair back. "I'm gonna go freshen up," she muttered, stalking off toward the bathrooms, heels clicking angrily on the stone tiles. My mom leaned toward me the second Bridget was out of earshot. "Celia," she whispered fiercely, "don't start anything. Tonight is important to Bridget." I turned to look at her, really look at her. Her carefully styled hair, her pearls, her pressed linen dress. Her desperate desire for everything to look perfect on the outside, no matter how rotten it was underneath. "Mom," I said softly. "I didn't start anything. You all did." Her face flushed. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, to gaslight me into thinking I was being dramatic, but then closed it again. Maybe, finally, she realized there was nothing she could say that wouldn't make her look worse. I took another sip of wine and turned back to Harper, who was eagerly asking about custom commissions. The rest of dinner was a strange, glittering blur. The waiters brought out plates of enchiladas and chili rellenos, bowls of fresh guacamole, endless pitchers of margaritas. Toasts were made, some to Bridget, awkwardly. Some to family more generally. Bridget came back eventually, face wiped clean of emotion, smiling that tight, polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. She didn't look at me once. When dessert came, flan, tres leches cake, and sopapillas, my dad finally broke the last of the brittle politeness. "So," he said gruffly, cutting into a thick slab of tres leches, "when are you gonna bring someone around, Celia?" "It's been a while, huh?" A few people laughed awkwardly. The old deflections rose to my tongue automatically. "I'm busy, I'm focused on work," but something in me snapped. I set my fork down carefully and smiled. "I'm not bringing someone just to make people comfortable," I said. "When I find the right person, you'll meet them. Until then, I'm doing just fine on my own." The table went quiet again. In the silence, I could hear the clink of plates, the distant hum of the restaurant's live guitarist. And then, surprisingly, Aunt Lorraine spoke up. "You should be proud of her," she said, directing it toward my parents. "She's built something incredible." Harper nodded eagerly. "Yeah. Not everyone can say that." For once, I didn't feel defensive. I didn't feel like I had to explain or justify my choices. I just sat there, letting the words settle like soft rain. I saw my mother's hand flutter toward her wineglass. Her eyes stayed downcast. Dinner finally wrapped up around 10. The check came, and in true Morales family fashion, there was a loud, chaotic fight over who would cover what. In the end, Uncle Simon footed most of it, grinning and waving off protests. As people started drifting away, hugging, saying goodbyes, Bridget made her way toward me. Her face was stiff, unreadable. I steeled myself for a confrontation. Instead, she leaned in, gave me the world's most perfunctory side hug, and said, "Well, hope you had fun." I smiled sweetly. "I did." She pulled back, gave me one last lingering glare, and then walked off with Tyson close behind. My mom approached next, clutching her purse tightly. "Celia," she started. But I shook my head, gently. "Not tonight, Mom. I'm tired." Her face crumpled a little, but she nodded. Maybe, finally, understanding that some bridges, once burned, don't rebuild so easily. I waited until most of the family had left before calling another Uber. As I stood there in the courtyard, the warm Texas night heavy with the scent of jasmine and grilled peppers, I realized something. I hadn't just crashed their dinner. I'd crashed their entire narrative about me, the black sheep, the screw-up, the outsider. I wasn't begging for scraps anymore. I had brought my own damn seat to the table, and for the first time, they all had to take notice. The Uber pulled up just as I was adjusting the train of my dress. The driver, a woman around my age with a warm smile, rolled down the window. "You going to a gala or something?" she joked. I smiled back, exhausted but satisfied. "Something like that." I slid into the back seat, the cool air conditioning washing over my overheated skin. As we pulled away from La Fonda, I turned to look back once, just once, at the restaurant courtyard disappearing behind me. Somehow, it felt smaller now. Like a stage I'd outgrown. The drive home was quiet. San Antonio at night has a certain hush to it, the sleepy hum of traffic, the soft buzz of neon signs over empty streets. I rested my head against the window, watching the city blur past. I wasn't sad. Not exactly. There was a strange hollowness inside me, but it wasn't grief. It was space. Space that had been cramped and crowded with guilt and longing for years. Now it was open. And it was up to me what I filled it with. When I got home, I kicked off my heels by the door, peeled out of the dress like shedding armor, and hung it carefully back in the closet. I stood there for a moment, fingertips trailing the beadwork, feeling the weight of the night settle around me. It would have been so easy, once, to fall back into old patterns. To text my mom. To apologize even though I hadn't done anything wrong. But I didn't. Instead, I pulled on an old t-shirt, brewed a cup of chamomile tea, and curled up on the couch, phone buzzing quietly beside me. I ignored the first few buzzes, group chat notifications, no doubt. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I unlocked the phone and scrolled through. As expected, the family group chat was a mess. Aunt Lorraine had posted pictures, lots of them. Me laughing with Harper. Me posing with Uncle Simon and Aunt Rosalie. Even a shot of me talking animatedly with the waitstaff, who had clearly been starstruck by the dress. Dozens of heart reacts, fire emojis, congratulations. All centered around me. Not Bridget. There were a few awkward attempts to refocus, so proud of you, Bridget. But the momentum was clear. It must have stung. It must have burned. But somehow, I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt finished. Scrolling down, I saw a text from my mom, separate from the group chat. Can we talk tomorrow? I think we should clear the air. Love you. I stared at it for a long moment. It would be easy to say yes. To meet for brunch at some cozy place, sip coffee, nod along while she explained how things got miscommunicated, how it wasn't intentional, how I misunderstood. How she loved me, but on terms she dictated. It would be easy. Familiar. But hadn't tonight proven I didn't have to do things the easy way anymore? I set the phone down without replying, letting the message sit there, unanswered. The tea grew cold in my hands as I sat in the dim glow of the living room, thinking. About family. About loyalty. About how often we mistake obligation for love. Morning came harsh and early, golden sunlight flooding the room before I was ready. I moved slowly through my routine, shower, coffee, pulling my hair back into a low ponytail. I avoided my phone entirely, focusing instead on the quiet rituals of self-care. When I finally did pick it up, there were more messages. My father had texted a simple, stiff, "Hope you got home safe." Harper had sent, "You looked amazing last night. Let's get lunch soon." And Bridget, predictably, had sent nothing. Good. I wasn't in the mood for faux apologies or thinly veiled jabs. Mid-morning, I pulled into the parking lot of my boutique, tucked between a bakery and an old record store. The scent of fresh bread drifted on the warm breeze as I unlocked the front door. Inside, everything was just as I'd left it, the racks of curated clothes, the displays of handmade jewelry, the art prints lining the walls. My world. Built from scratch. No permission asked, none needed. I spent the morning answering emails, organizing inventory, sketching out ideas for the new window display. Clients trickled in, regulars who greeted me warmly, complimented me on how radiant I looked today, though they didn't know why. Around lunchtime, I finally opened the message thread with my mom again. I reread her text. Can we talk tomorrow? I think we should clear the air. Love you. I thought about everything it implied, and everything it left out. There would be no acknowledgement of how they'd made me feel for years. No apology for erasing me from family events, from conversations, from milestones. No real change. Only smoothing over. Only pretending it had never happened. For a long moment, I hovered over the keyboard. Then, slowly, I typed back, "I need some space for now. I'll reach out when I'm ready." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The immediate, overwhelming wave of guilt crashed down, the old reflex, trained into me from childhood, to minimize my hurt so others could stay comfortable. But this time I let it pass. No one was going to advocate for me but me. Later that afternoon, Harper dropped by the boutique. She breezed in wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying 2 iced coffees, offering one to me like a peace offering. "I thought you could use a pick-me-up," she said, grinning. I accepted the coffee, wary but touched. We talked idly about work, about Harper's upcoming move to Dallas, about fashion trends. But eventually, the conversation circled back, as I knew it would, to last night. Harper twisted the straw wrapper between her fingers, avoiding my gaze. "You know," she said slowly, "I think a lot of people were embarrassed. Not just about last night. About before. I stayed quiet, letting her find her words. I think they always knew you were doing amazing things, she said. It just made them feel bad. Like they had this picture in their heads of what success should look like, and you didn't fit it. So it was easier to pretend you weren't there. I sipped my coffee, considering that. It doesn't make it okay, Harper rushed to add. I'm just saying, it wasn't about you being unworthy. It was about them not wanting to feel like failures. It was a generous interpretation. Too generous, maybe. But somewhere, deep down, a part of me understood. And another part, a bigger part, didn't care anymore. I deserved better than love with conditions. Better than family that only showed up when it was convenient. And if they couldn't meet me where I was? Well, that was their loss. After Harper left, I stayed sitting on the little velvet stool behind the counter, twirling the straw in my coffee, thinking. It was funny. For years, I'd worked so hard just to get them to see me. Not even love me, just recognize that I existed outside of their narrow definitions of success and pride. And last night, they had finally seen. But not because I'd changed to fit them. Because I'd stopped asking for their approval. That was the real revenge, wasn't it? Not crashing their dinner. Not stealing their attention. It was thriving without them, and letting them feel the absence of my needing them. A few days later, another invitation came. A text from Aunt Rosalie this time. Bridget is having a graduation party at the house this weekend. Hope you can come. Everyone's asking if you'll be there. Red heart, the irony wasn't lost on me. Suddenly, when it served them, when it made them look good to their friends, to their neighbors, they wanted me there. Not as family. As decoration. I didn't even hesitate. I typed back, thank you, but I won't be attending. I have other commitments. Wishing Bridget the best. No excuse. No long explanations. Just a simple boundary, firmly set. I hit send and felt lighter immediately. Instead of attending their party, I organized a private event at my boutique the same night. An exclusive sip-in shop for a few of my best clients and local artists. We had a jazz duo playing in the corner, charcuterie boards from the bakery next door, champagne flowing like water. The boutique glittered under soft fairy lights. Friends laughed, music floated through the air, and I felt at peace. I wasn't where they thought I should be. I was exactly where I wanted to be. Toward the end of the night, Harper texted me. You're missing it, face with tears of joy. Bridget's miserable. She was bragging all week that you were coming. Now everyone's asking where you are. She's furious. I smiled down at the screen, feeling no guilt, no sadness. Just calm. Hope she has a great night, I texted back simply. I tucked the phone into my bag and returned to the laughter and warmth of my own people, the ones I'd chosen, who had chosen me right back. A week later, a small package arrived at my boutique. No note. No return address. Inside was a framed photo from the graduation dinner, me in my gown, surrounded by the family, laughing, the fairy lights making the beads on my dress sparkle like stars. A silent acknowledgement. A silent apology, maybe. I smiled, placed the frame on a shelf behind the register, and went back to work. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their validation. I had built a life so full, so rich, so honest, they could either step into it with respect, or watch from the sidelines. Either way, I was finally free. And honestly? It looked pretty damn good from where I was standing.